Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to yet another episode of an Evolved Review. I'm your host, James Caleb Kitchens, and as always, I'm joined by none other than Caleb Stovall. Welcome back to the show, man.
Hey, what's going on, man? It's always a pleasure.
Yeah, technical difficulties aside, we'll eventually get this one out today. As you can see by the title, if you've clicked on this or if you're watching a video, today we're going to talk a little bit about this Forbidden Door show that's coming up. And one of the things I think before we get into that aspect of it is, you know, I think WWE really made a splash with WrestleMania this year in a way that a lot of people weren't expecting. And I think that Tony Khan was really, I don't want to say desperate, but maybe that is the first word that came to my mind. So maybe I will use that. Maybe desperate to move the needle a little bit on the conversation.
Well, I mean, okay, so we'll get into that, but I was thinking about this the other day, man. All right, and especially since we've told the people that we've got upcoming, our top pay-per-views of WWE and stuff like that, and
Right.
watching
We
a lot of watching a lot
we
of
have a
these.
schedule, but we don't really stick to it.
Well, this is true. This is very true. But aside from all of that, man, watching through a lot of WWE footage and covering that WrestleMania and stuff like that, I thought about this. All right, think about this with WWE. Okay, so many people right now shit on their product. They say that oh, this is bad booking. They're not using this star right. Why is this person in this position? Blah 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 blah. All this other stuff, you know. But think about this. WrestleMania, if you remember, there was not one single person out there that was saying, "Oh, this WrestleMania is going to be amazing. We can't wait to see this WrestleMania." There was a lot of people even, bullshitting themselves saying, "Oh, we're not going to watch WrestleMania this year. The WrestleMania looks terrible booking wise." Let me point out though that 2 nights straight in a row, they still sold out the stadium.
Right.
They still broke pay-per-view buy rates.
I mean, here's the thing. Well,
See, and so that's where I always I'm like there's somehow this disconnect with WWE's doing terrible when really they're not.
not necessarily pay-per-view buy rates
Well, yeah,
because that's not a thing, really. I mean, in most markets, right? But
right. Well, not,
but as far as people watching it, right? And AEW has never sold out a venue of that size, not once.
well,
Um,
no, but even still, for them to be able to sell for any place to just sell out an arena,
right.
it's it's not doing so terrible then.
Well, they're not doing terrible at all, and that's the thing is WWE's. I'm one of the people who is a WWE detractor, right? Like the product's not for me any longer.
I
I
am
don't
too.
like it. I don't like any of it. I mean, NXT is atrocious now. However, I was thoroughly entertained by WrestleMania. I think there's some terrible booking decisions on there. But
There is.
here's the thing. For the masses, right? And for the mainstream audience, for the people who buy the merch, for the people who watch Raw and SmackDown, for those people, WWE financially is doing incredibly well, right? Their financials are off the charts. Does that mean that they're shitty because they treat their talents getting paid probably way less than talents were used to being paid for the most part? Yeah, I mean, with them doing all the budget cuts and everything like that while their profits are soaring, yeah, that is shitty. What people got to understand is WWE is not out to please the internet wrestling community. They never have been. And they're really not even out to please their audience. They're out to please their investors. If those two things happen to line up, great. But you can't really effectively criticize someone who doesn't give a single shit about what your opinion is or what the criticisms are because they don't care.
Yeah.
Um, and with Triple H, a lot of people have been like, "Well, we're just waiting on Vince McMahon to die." so Triple H can take over, and then it'll be kind of like NXT 1.0.
Well,
But I'm
that's
gonna
not.
go in. It's never gonna happen with Triple H's medical issues. He is never taking over the operation of that company. I
No,
promise you that it will kill him. I mean,
no, no,
he can't do it.
no. If anything, Stephanie would take it over.
I don't think one person is ever going to do the job that Vince McMahon does, which is everything.
No,
Uh,
because no one, and that's why Vince McMahon is one of a kind.
yeah,
Let's be honest.
I mean, it's his baby. I mean, I listen to a lot of Jim Ross's podcast, and that's one of the things that he'll tell you from jump is that this is Vince's company. Whatever the old man wants, that's what he gets, and that's just so interesting because that barely exists in our world, you know. Like, I mean, I guess Facebook is probably another, example of something like that where you have like one guy that's really the driving force behind it. But
Yeah,
even stuff like Tesla and SpaceX, where like Elon Musk is this huge like social media personality or or like celebrity. Those companies are not like it's not like every single thing that happens, right? Like they don't call Elon every time they roll a Tesla off the production line and be like, "Hey man, you think this one looks good?" That's literally the amount of control that Vince McMahon has in WWE.
yeah, no, no, I agree. But and some people say that's a bad thing. I mean, because here's the thing. What did everyone say was the problem with for the longest time TNA and WCW was there was not one person in charge. There were
Right.
multiple people in charge. With WWE, it's like, no, we know who the guys we know at the end of the day there's going to be one guy that's going to make the decision. And Eric Bischoff, right? When he was on the creative team this last time on SmackDown, he was asked by Conrad Thompson. He's like, this person says they have creative control. This person has creative control. Eric Bischoff said, okay, let me go ahead and stop you right there. There is one guy in WWE that has creative control. Only one man. What do you think his name is? And they said Vincent Kennedy McMahon. He's like, exactly.
Yeah.
And so sometimes that's not a bad thing. I mean, like, I get people say this and that. But my point was, to all of this, they're still selling out, stadiums. They've
Right.
got 4 stadium shows lined up this year alone. One of
Yeah.
them is in Nashville, which actually, to be honest, I can't wait for. And my thing is I'm like, they're going to sell those out, and those aren't even WrestleManias.
Yeah. I mean, if you look at it, right? I mean, even in the creative world, right? If you're talking about major intellectual property, if you look at the major difference, the deciding difference between why Marvel does so well and why DC does so poorly is because they have one guy. The MCU has Kevin Feige, who
Yes.
is and it doesn't, I don't think he has the sort of granular control that Vince does where he's down into the details, right? But he is making sure that the right people are in the right places with the right vision and the right path forward. And everything comes through that one guy. And DC doesn't have anything like that. And the reason that I bring that up specifically is because, as we know, Warner Brothers has been bought out by Discovery,
Mm-hmm.
and that has been sort of a negative bit of news for AEW because the word is, and I don't know how much truth there really is to it. The word is that Discovery doesn't want Dynamite on TBS.
I've heard that. I mean, I don't know what to think on that.
Well, and here's the thing: is what it comes down to, and Eric Bischoff, we go right back to him because he's got such a great understanding of this sort of thing.
Yeah.
I mean, honestly, when it comes to like advertising dollars and TV spots and how these networks operate, I think that Eric Bischoff probably is the best voice that will talk about it that we have to go off of. And the thing is, none of us know what kind of agreement or what kind of setup AEW's got with the network, and we don't know what the ad buys look like. We don't know any of that stuff.
Right.
So the thing is, if they're making good money and it makes good business sense, they're gonna have a home. Uh, but we'll see how it goes. But one of the things that I think is to their benefit, and we talked about this before, was Tony Khan taking over the booking and kind of being the guy.
Yeah.
Now he seems kind of unhinged and strung out lately, if you ask me. I really feel like I think that success of WrestleMania, I think Tony was so used to, and this is me kind of psychoanalyzing the guy here, so it's off in left field. I think he was so used to being the topic of discussion, right? He was so used to all the eyes kind of on AEW, like what are they going to do next, like the wrestling community, that for a week WWE dominated all of that, and I think that messed with him a bit. I think he was quite desperate to get the conversation back into his corner, and that brings us after 11 minutes of rambling. That brings us to the topic, which is the huge announcement. And I will go on to say that I think wrestling fans are huge announcement fatigued at this point because there's so many huge announcements now that it's like, are we just overhyping things? I mean, is it really a huge announcement? I'm saying that like before I even knew what the announcement actually was. A lot of people were hoping this was going to be the HBO Max deal. I think everybody knows that's coming. That's going to revolutionize things. But unfortunately, we didn't get the HBO Max deal. And I know you and I are going to have completely different opinions on this, which is why I wanted this to be the topic.
Well, I mean, and I can see what you're saying. Um, I get that, people are maybe huge announcement fatigued, as you said at this point. I get that. But my thing is like what you're kind of suggesting though, and I could be wrong. I don't know, but this is kind of what it sounds like you're suggesting is that this is a response then to how successful WrestleMania is or
No,
was.
I don't think this is a response because there's no way they cooked this up in 2 weeks.
Yeah, I was about to say there's I'm like this has been in the works since last year probably. Like they probably had these talks in 2020.
Oh yeah, there's no way that this is a direct response. I don't think that that's the case at all. I just think that the way that AEW has operated in general, both around WrestleMania weekend and since then, I think that Tony has appeared to be, I say unhinged, but he just seems, he doesn't seem like, he seems like he's under a lot of pressure, right? More than
He,
usual.
I mean, he may be. I don't know exactly. I can tell you that when I went to see them live in Columbia, South Carolina, I had a great time. It was a great show. So at times I still scratch my head. I'm just like, what's the huge problem with AEW that I'm just not seeing? Like I still think that they put on like I think that the Dynamites have just been completely amazing. Actually, like this past one, Wednesday, like actually with the announcement, I thought was a great Dynamite.
Dynamite's really good. Um, I definitely like it over any of WWE's formats. I mean, even with WrestleMania, right? Those fucking quick camera cuts, all the camera cuts just ruin it. If I could see WrestleMania through the lens of AEW's film crew, I think it would go up a whole number rating from me because the WWE's camera cuts are atrocious. I hate the way their stuff is shot.
I hate the way that every time something goes down, they want to do this like shaking thing. Like I can't stand that. That messes with my eyes so bad sometimes.
It's overproduced, right? As
Oh, it is.
someone who has years and years and years of experience in wrestling production, it's insanely overproduced. The 3D shit on the screen, the
Oh my
shakes, the
god.
camera cuts. I mean, all of that. It's
Well, you
just
know why they started doing that? because I had a thought about that. I was wondering why they started doing that. Here's why they started doing that. They're trying, while also presenting the entertainment aspect, they're trying to present, like a legit sports broadcast at times. I that just as far as presentation, and the NFL does that, where,
Sure.
like, when during one of the plays being set up, they'll have the stats of someone, and it'll be this 3D model. And I guess with WWE, their motto is, hey, we see that if we're going to do that, then let's go to the most obscene, stupidity with it. Because
Right.
some of it I think is ridiculous. Like having Roman Reigns do the, like, that's ridiculous every time.
It's all absurd. Like, but it is WWE. Like we said, they have no restraint whatsoever, and that's kind of their MO at this point. They have no restraint. But I mean, it is what it is, right? And I do think that AEW's product, they've done less and less of the dumb stuff lately. Um, the booking has been a lot better. But I think, and here's the thing with this announcement, and this is kind of the lens that I see this whole thing through today. I want to know what the goal is with AEW. If the goal is to be this alternative, very wrestling fan focused product, then I think they're doing an incredible job. If that's the business model and it will work for them, great. If the goal is to be the number one wrestling company, they will never attain that with these types of things, like with the steps that they're taking right now. If the goal is mainstream success, if they want to bring wrestling back into the mainstream, then they have got to stop doing things like this. And that's my opinion on it. So I think a lot of us, and this is what I want, right? Like, I would love for wrestling to have the prominence that it had in the late 90s, early 2000s, or even the mid 90s, right? I would love that. What people truly want, I think, is for WWE to go back to being that. And if we can't have that, then we want someone else to do it. AEW is kind of like we're getting 65% of that, right? Like, it's got the WCW feel, it's got the wrestling and a lot of the talent that we want to see. I mean, Samoa Joe is there. That's huge for me. But it's they are not trying, in my opinion. If they are, they're failing horribly to break into the mainstream. I think they are fine just catering to wrestling fans. And like I said, if that's the business model and it works for them, I'm all for it. But if that's not the plan, then they got to do something other than this.
Well, I mean, so I agree with you, but then in a sense, isn't that what they're doing right now? Like, maybe he's realized that, hey, because that's even what WWE has to realize at times. I get that, which, by the way, this is why I hate Vince Russo for life. All right. Because he talked about this. My goal is not to cater to the wrestling fans. I'm trying to get the other fans. And it's like, okay, let me explain something to everyone. If the other fans or the mainstream wanted to watch, they would watch. And they
Right.
would watch wrestling. They would know what they're watching. Like, they think that, oh, we got to put in, all this entertainment. We got to put in this and that and that. And it's like, no, listen, if they wanted to watch that, first of all, they're not going to watch wrestling. They're going to go watch Stranger Things, or they're going to go watch Breaking Bad, or they're going to go watch this. They're going to go watch those types of shows if they want to watch that. When they watch wrestling, they want to watch wrestling and everything like that. It's, I don't,
Well, but
but
that's the question, though, right? The question is, what's the goal? Because you could make that argument about 80s wrestling versus 90s wrestling, not even talking about the Attitude Era stuff. But if you want to go back even further and look at if you look at wrestling style today versus the old school style of wrestling, right? We're talking about you know, like late 70s era.
Mm-hmm.
The style of wrestling is entirely different. So you
It
could
is.
easily be like, oh, well, if you want to see that, watch. Well, I guess they didn't have the X Games then, but you know what I mean? Like, it just, it's a different thing, right? It's a different concept today. So I don't know. I don't know how much of that change has to do with the fact that wrestling is a performance now more than it is a contest in a lot of situations, and the fan base is aware of that, and I mean that's a whole different discussion, right? Of as far as whether that has moved the needle a lot, but I think it all comes down to what is it you're trying to do? Are you trying to bring people in, which is what WWE is trying to do at any cost, right? I mean, they literally would have like a drone race in the middle of Raw if they thought it would bring people in to watch it.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, look, I don't know what the ultimate goal is for AEW right now. If I am AEW, my goal right now is just to make money. Which obviously, here's the thing: when we talk about mainstream or anything, the ultimate goal of any product of worth watching is to get more eyeballs on it. You know, I don't, at times I question why people do things the way that they do it to get those eyeballs, but that's a different story. And look, I get it, but I mean, what if AEW had not done the whole, hey, Tony Khan has a big announcement Wednesday on Dynamite? What if they had done that on Facebook or YouTube? Like on one of the darks. Hey, check out Dark this Tuesday because Tony Khan has a big announcement. I mean, it's got to be a big announcement either way. I mean, this is going to be a big event,
I,
and
I
it's going to sell out. I guarantee you.
right, it's gonna sell out because it's United Center in Chicago, and
Yeah.
CM Punk's gonna fucking be there.
Well, yeah,
I mean,
but
I would say, I would claim that they could sell out that arena just on the word that Punk is gonna be there, but that would be a lie. They can sell out that arena on the rumor that Punk is gonna be there
well, this is true. I
because they
mean,
did it.
yeah, they did, but I mean, here's the thing. I still think it's a cool concept. It's not something that hasn't been, done before. Ring of Honor's done the whole uh teaming up with New Japan and other and whatnot. But I mean, I think it's great for both companies because AEW clearly has the bigger audience here in US, obviously. So, and New Japan is has been trying to get to the US audience for a long time, and this is a great way to showcase them. I think it's a great concept. Is it earth shattering though to mainstream media? Probably not, but they know that wrestling fans are going to like it.
See,
I
that's my
don't
thing though. I don't think that many wrestling fans follow New Japan. Here's what I see a lot of, right? I see a lot of things I see a ton of bandwagoning, right? I see stuff like when Minoru Suzuki became prominent, right? When they first started mentioning him on AEW.
Yeah.
Immediately there was all these people you've never heard talk about New Japan, talk about, oh, he's a legend. Minoru Suzuki, this and that. It's like, cool, name like 5 of his biggest matches, and they can't tell you anything. Right? And,
Yeah.
and it's like, okay, what are we doing here? I don't think there is that much of an audience in the US for New Japan. Do I think that there is talent there? Absolutely.
Oh yeah.
But
And just like Ring of Honor in a lot of ways, New Japan has had some of the best feuds and matches go down there, and you never know about it. I mean, here's the thing. A lot of people forget Hulk Hogan was the first G1 Climax winner, technically.
yeah,
Now, it wasn't called that, but that's basically what it would become. He won that. in New Japan.
Yeah.
So I mean, there's been a lot of stuff that people don't realize has gone down there, and New Japan only kind of became prominent because of the Bullet Club, and the
Right.
Bullet Club was successful because of two things, not just New Japan's success, but also when they did it in Ring of Honor, because not only did they get the U.S. fans, they got the New Japan fans as well.
So that is true. I think that pay-per-view buy wise, I think it will do well with the combination of the Japanese fan base and the US fan base for this. So
Mm-hmm.
I think buy rate, I think it's going to be fine. I don't know. I just my thing. I don't know if it moves the needle. Right. I don't know if they gain. And like you said a minute ago, the objective is to get as many eyes on it as possible. I don't think this moves the needle as far as mainstream US at all. And
Yeah,
and maybe that's not the goal of it, right? Maybe the goal is just to make some money off a show, which is fine.
yeah, I was about to say that that's a good thing, and two, it also, maybe their goal is just to establish a relationship, to be like, hey, let's do more stuff in the future. Let's, trade talent. Let's feature people on our shows and stuff like that. That's what Ring of Honor did with New Japan Pro Wrestling, and it served them pretty well. They just
I
didn't take
could
advantage of it.
I could see this being a yearly thing for them. AEW's only got 6 pay-per-views
Yeah.
throughout the year. So them adding this as a special event, I think would be cool. I don't think they should go by the WWE method and go back and go up to doing 12 anytime soon. Maybe not ever. Um, the only way I could see them going up to 12 is if they are on a network and we're not paying $60 for them. But that changes the business model. And enough about that. Let's start fan booking this damn thing. Uh, Okay, so the match that everybody has been talking about is Page versus Okada.
Yeah, I've heard that one. I've heard one though that you're not gonna like. Some people. Well, actually, this
Well,
might just be more fanboys doing that. I don't know. Take it for what you want to. But one of the matches everyone's talking also about is possibly like the rematch between Omega and Okada.
I could see why they'd want to do that, but is Kenny gonna even be back by then?
I don't know. He's pretty banged up. I mean, like the surgery. He say what you want to about him, but he got banged up.
Is
Like,
there? I don't know if there's a reason to do another one.
I don't think
Um,
so either. I believe Okada and Page would obviously be that would be amazing. Even though Okada is not their champion,
right.
like, Will Ospreay is their champion, if I'm not mistaken. I could be mistaken, folks. I don't follow. I can't follow New Japan like that a lot of the time. So, um,
Let's see. No, Okada won the title in January of this year.
oh, never mind. Okay, so um, then yeah, it would make sense. AEW champion versus the IWGP champion. If so, that match would be amazing because Hangman Page can go in the ring, and Okada, I think, is probably one of the top 10 workers in the business.
Yeah, I mean, I think I agree with you on Okada. Here's the thing, though. You have your two champions face each other. You have two options. You got to shit on a champion, or you have to do a screwball finish to the main event of the first one of these things.
Can I throw something out there for you with that though?
Sure.
Because you know, I I I like you. I like to listen to a lot of the podcasts and stuff like that. And Jim Ross. I almost said Jeff Jarrett because I've been listening to Jeff Jarrett's podcast so much. But Jim Ross said this, right? He said, "Look, it's a fight in UFC, you know, someone has to lose, someone has to win. In sports, someone has to lose, someone has to win. That is,
Right.
but I don't see how at times, I don't see how that makes someone look weak or so, unless it's, I don't know. Like I'm indifferent about that, because sometimes it's just, well, someone has to lose, someone has to win. So I get that there's always the struggle at times, who's going to do that, who's not. But I'm in a disagreement at times with that. Like, I'm like, I don't think that makes someone look bad. I think it's all about the way you come back and stuff like that.
Sure. I think AEW is hugely foolish if they let Adam Page lose to Okada. If that happens, I think his championship reign is just a complete wash. I don't want to go too far into it, but I think
Right.
his title reign has been. I mean, listen, this will explain it all to you and anybody else that listens to this podcast. I think Kenny Omega was a far better AEW champion than Hangman Adam Page.
Oh wow. Oh wow. Now I don't even know what to say to that. I mean,
Because as repulsed as I am by Kenny Omega, I could not wait to see him lose that thing. Every time he defended it, I was sitting there waiting on him to lose it.
yeah.
And
Which I
that's
mean,
the heel's job. Regardless of how he got that heat with me, that's his job.
no, and I agree. Rick, I watched the 30 for 30 special. It's taken me a while to watch this thing, but I finally watched the 30 for 30 special with Ric Flair. And he even said that. He's like, look, uh my job was to basically make you think I was gonna lose, and then I would come back and somehow win and escape, and then you'd want to come back the next week and see me get killed.
Right.
That was what the beauty of it is. And that's something that's been lost with a lot of heels.
Right.
Like, that's why I've always said that I've never been a fan of Kevin Owens as a heel, because I'm just like, he acts too damn cool. Like,
Right.
you can't be cool. That's why Austin never got over as a heel. That's why when he, said those lines of Austin 316, I whooped your ass and everything like that. The reason why is because that's cool. And people
Right.
are like, wait a minute, that's not, if you look back at Austin's like heel run, even then, he would try to act like a coward and people weren't buying it. It was like it didn't fit anymore.
If Bret Hart was in his prime right now, he would be the best heel ever.
Yes.
Because he does nothing flashy at all. Everything is by the book. There's no flashiness in any of it. He looks like he's trying to win a match. He would be like the best heel on the planet right now.
Yeah.
Um, and my problem with Adam Page is like it feels like he won the title, and then they had this kind of thing with him and Danielson, and we kind of all expected him to be this transitional champion to move the title onto Danielson, and they really should have done that, because I'm so much more interested in everything else in AEW right now. Just about, I'm more interested in whether Sammy Guevara has already gotten laid today than I am in whatever the fuck Adam Page is doing. And
Yeah.
and, and I love Adam Cole, like, but nobody thinks Adam Cole is going to win the title from Adam Page. That we know that they're treading water for whatever is coming up next. I mean, I want to know more about, I want to see more Darby Allin. I want to see more MJF. I want to see more CM Punk. I want to see more
Yeah.
Danielson. I even want to see more Moxley after his match with Wheeler Yuta, and I rarely ever want to see John Moxley anywhere.
How about Wheeler Yuta's killing it?
Dude, I've been a fan of Wheeler Yuta for a long time,
Yeah.
and it's really good to see them giving him this sort of push that is unexpected and deserved.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, I mean, he's such a nice guy, and so good at what he does, and I think just really deserving, and so I hope that they keep that up. But if this, so let me ask you this: if Paige and Okada isn't the match, right? What would you want to see the two of them doing at this pay-per-view?
Oh, Okada versus CM Punk or Okada versus Bryan Danielson.
I think Okada Danielson is much probably more sought after and more likely because
I would love to see that.
I think there's two matches that have to happen on this pay-per-view. I think
CM
CM Punk and
versus
Kenta.
Naito.
No, it's got to be him and
Oh,
Kenta, man,
Kenta. Yeah, yeah. Well, I keep forgetting that Kenta's in New Japan Pro
and not
Wrestling.
in NXT.
Well, not even that, because here's the thing: he never wrestled for New Japan before going to NXT. He made his name in Pro Wrestling Noah.
Yeah, and that's going to come back up in a bit, but I think CM Punk and Kenta have to have this battle of the GTS. I think
Yeah.
that has to happen. I think the other match that has to happen, and some strings are going to have to get pulled for this, but if you want to get mainstream eyes on this pay-per-view, this is how you do it. He's currently under contract with Noah, so some money is going to have to get tossed to them. Sting versus the Great Muta.
Uh, talk about nostalgia.
It hasn't happened since '91.
No, I mean, it don't tell me Sting can't go anymore, because he went through two. I go back to, he's 62 and he went through two tables,
Right.
like from a balcony.
Dude,
I
it can be done. Like,
No,
I,
no, it can be done.
it doesn't need to be long either. You
I can
know?
see that one. I could also see, for a tag team dream match, FTR versus God, Gorillas of Destiny.
Yeah, for sure. I think so too. I think that's the match, hands down.
Yeah.
If it's not them, I think they'll do the Bucks.
Yeah, I mean, either now, and see, people might, roll their eyes on that, but that would actually, Bullet Club fans would rejoice, because they'd be like, okay, this is like continuing the story of that. So, no, I would be okay with that. Either one would be good.
Yeah, I think FTR is the dream match though.
Yeah, it is. It definitely is. Again, I don't know a lot who's over in New Japan right now. I don't know, who are the top people. I can only go by the names that I know that are still there. Naito, I know, versus, I don't know, somebody. Naito versus Darby Allin would probably be pretty good. I mean,
Yeah.
actually, Darby Allin versus Kota Ibushi or Will Ospreay even. Will Ospreay is going to have to be involved in this somehow, because he's a huge part of New Japan Pro Wrestling. Tamura Ishii, he's going to be one. I mean, dude, there's so many possibilities. There's so many ways that they could go. I'm excited to see what happens with it. I really am. But, I get that it might not be an earth-shattering news or anything like that. But, I mean, how else are you supposed to announce it, I guess?
Here's what's going to come from this event. Will Ospreay is going to be so sought after by AEW once they see him.
Mm-hmm.
Once the AEW fans that don't know who he is see Will Ospreay. I'm hoping they do Will Ospreay and Pac, personally.
Oh, well, that one would be good. I mean, that one would be logical.
Yeah. But there's the thing. He can go with anybody. They could do him and Danielson. I think Zack Sabre Jr.'s got to get involved, too. I think he'll have to be on the show.
Zack Sabre Jr. versus Wheeler Yuta.
Oh, Jesus. I think we've seen that, though. I mean, right? That's happened. But it would be amazing.
It might have happened at like a Ring of Honor show one time or something like that, but I mean, not to a level of that. And, they're in completely different places now. So,
yeah. There has been some talk on Twitter of Moxley, Danielson, and Wheeler Yuta against the whoever's in the Bullet Club right now.
versus the what are they called? The combat. What is it? The
Blackpool Combat Club. Yeah.
By the way, I don't care who you are. That is a badass faction.
It is. Yeah. It really
I love
is.
that faction. I will say that on a little final note of AEW, We gotta get rid of some of these factions, folks.
Yeah, really do.
Like, you don't need that many factions, as TNA and WWE has found out over the years.
Yeah, it just becomes a damn nightmare, and it takes away from the concept of a faction. I think if you're gonna have a faction, you either have one or you have two, and that's
I,
it.
I'd say I'd say two. I could even accept three, but the third one would have to be smaller than the other ones, kind of thing. But I agree. No, I think that there should only be one or two factions. I don't think that there should be like 17 different factions at
Right.
once. Um, but that's just me. But man, like I said, I'm looking forward to seeing what happens with this New Japan Pro Wrestling thing. I think it's a great relationship opportunity. Who knows what's gonna become of it? Who knows what's gonna happen? But I'm excited. I like I said, I'm excited. I believe that this statement is actually true right now. That I believe it's an exciting time to be a pro wrestling fan right now
For
because
sure.
there's a lot going on. It's not just with these two companies. It's not just with WWE. Game Changer Wrestling is doing really good. Like I said, I saw them in Atlanta. It was a great show. I had a blast with it, and it was a lot of fun. It was different, but it was a lot of fun. Ring of Honor is still going to continue. And from the success that the Super Card of Honor did, it looks like Tony Khan's like, hey, I might actually use this as a second show kind of thing, which would be in his benefit too, because it would be something completely different from Dynamite. It would actually be different, other than, Rampage is basically just Dynamite, only an hour.
I think it'll go on HBO Max, and I think it's going to be our what NXT 1.0 was. And there's now, thanks to WWE, there's a hole in the market for that.
Yeah.
And I think that's what we're going to get from Ring of Honor. I think it'll be on HBO Max. There's no way that Turner puts a third wrestling show on their television. It's just not going to happen. It's not going to be on cable TV. It
Right.
can't. But I do think they'll do something with Ring of Honor. Unfortunately, I think that this Samoa Joe and Jay Lethal feud is going to eventually move over there. And I get that you want to, like, stars like that to be leading that thing. But those guys deserve to be in a prime spotlight on Dynamite. I mean, Samoa Joe's reaction is the biggest pop I've seen on a Dynamite since CM Punk.
Yeah, well, you know what? It looks. I mean, from what I understand, though, they're going to be featured a lot on both right now. So,
That's the hope.
especially with Joe. Like I said, man, I'm excited to see what happens. I thought it was surreal the other night watching Battle of the Belts and seeing Jonathan Gresham and Dalton Castle and hearing Bobby Cruz announce them to the ring on TNT, or well, on TBS. I was just like, wow, that's amazing. So that was really cool. The fanboy of Ring of Honor and me came out on that one.
Yeah, I would love to see Dalton Castle doing more stuff, honestly,
Yes,
in AEW.
and he might, because he definitely he got a great reaction, didn't he?
He
People were,
did.
it was great. And the boys, dude, I love his presentation. It's so good. He's figured out that, like, hey, I'm a good wrestler like Kurt Angle, but I also have the charisma and personality of a Shawn Michaels.
That is a tall order, but I can't disagree with you.
Yeah.
So there we are.
Yeah.
Well, man, I guess that about wraps it up. I'm interested to see where this goes. I think all eyes are going to be on this one, and we don't have too long to wait. It's going to be June 26th from the United Center,
Mm-hmm.
and yeah, tickets are going to go on sale May 6th, so I'm sure that's probably going to sell out immediately. I'm probably not going to make a trek to Chicago to see it, but you know, we're definitely going to review it. So,
I'm definitely going to be watching that. I can't wait for it, man. I mean, I'm all for big wrestling events, obviously.
yeah, for sure. Well, all right, man. As always, thanks for joining me here on the show.
Uh-huh.
It's always a good time. You
Yep, it
rocking the
is.
MLW hat today?
Well, I am, and if you notice, you know how you have cats run in and out. I have my little pup here running, make a little cameo at times. So,
You see, normally we're recording in the middle of the night. This is actually a daytime recording for us.
yeah,
Normally we're recording in the middle of the night, and there's cats everywhere. But this is actually their nap time. So my apartment is quiet. If you were here right now and you didn't know I had them, you wouldn't even know they were here. But
yeah,
in about 2 hours, that will change when they awaken from
yeah.
their dark slumber. So
My roommates at work, and pup misses her and stuff like that. So, he's just craving attention. But no, man, it was a lot of fun. I can't wait for this event, and obviously, I can't wait for more wrestling talk as well.
that's it. Well, we will of course be back with it next week. And that being said, this has been an Evolved Review.